And I'm going to be talking about common language. I'm going to start off with a classic film that demonstrates common language. It's not Fellini, but it is a very inspirational one.
On three. Oh, let me get it into the tub. Oh, I'm just going to give you the... On three, huh? What do you say?
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
One, two...
Wait.
What?
Do we do it on three or do 1, 2, 3, then do it?
Well, it's your ass, Cochise. I mean, it's up to you.
My ass, yeah. 3.
Well, we go on three.
3 on 3.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. 1.
Mark.
What? Yeah, I know.
Oh. Man, man.
I hear you.
Yeah.
We're not gonna fucking die here. All right?
Okay.
On 3.
3.
1, 2.
3!
So common language, it's important. Without common language, you will die on your exploding toilet. Which is funny, but seriously, it's important, common language, right? So without common language, you don't feel safe and you don't have trust. Without that, you can't make yourself vulnerable, right? And without those opportunities, you can't really grow and learn, and it's kind of uncomfortable, and it's not a happy place to be. And my goal is to make us all happier and to make us all trust each other more. And with that, I think common language is really powerful. How great is that feeling when you're working on a team and it's someone that you've been through the trenches with before, a million times over? I mean, there's people I've been with here for 15 years, right? We could sit in a room, and I don't even have to use a word. I can like an eyebrow raise or something like that, and we know exactly what's going to happen. It's such a comfortable feeling. I walk into a room, and I'm like, oh, nothing to worry about. Like, I know he knows when to go on 3. Like, we've done it a million times before. I want to find a way to scale that feeling. As we scale, as we grow, as we hire new people, I want us to make that feeling happen sooner with each other, because we'll be happier, right? So, is this working? Yes. So this is not a new story. It's a very, very old story. Right? So from the book of Genesis, a very, very long time ago, there was a story. You don't need to have faith or anything like that to listen to the story. It's just the oldest one I could think of. And in this story, all of humanity has the same language, and united by that, they decide to build a tower, one that's going to go all the way up to the heavens, right? And God's like, not in my backyard. Like, I want to go out, not wear my clothes and just hang out in my backyard. And so, as he saw this great progress that they were making as they were united, he said, no, I'm going to give you all different languages. And once that happened, all of a sudden, their progress, it halted, right? They couldn't work together efficiently, so they all scattered amongst the world. And I think that that's important. I think it's important to us. And at every single level, it's important. At the individual level, the team level, and also the company level. I'm going to talk through each one of those. So, using myself as an example, you start with the self-talk, right? Inside your mind, you have your own language, and that's actually very important. I'm not going to take you into the depths of my mind today, though. And I'm going to start with, when you're interacting with somebody else. This is the basis of one-on-one language. This is how you form relationships. This is where your personal and corporate development come from. When I say a word to you, it's kind of cool because I'm implanting a thought in your mind. Like, I can control your minds kind of by just say a word and then you have a thought in your mind. The problem is I can't fully control that word, right? So I might say something, and based off of your history, your experiences, your context, you are going to think of maybe something that I didn't really intend. And what I'd like to do is do a little experiment here. I want everybody here to think of a pipe, right? Really get that inside of your mind, put that thought in there. Really, the images that we use to represent words, they're really just thoughts in our minds, right? So you've got that thought in your mind right now, a pipe. What kind of pipe did you have? You probably had a variety of different pipes here. It could have been a corncob pipe. Could have been the lead pipe. Maybe it's a lead pipe for plumbing. Maybe it's a lead pipe for beating somebody. I don't know. You might have very dark minds, right? So it could be a Mario pipe, which is a pipe into another dimension. or my fancy man pipe that I'm going to smoke by the fireplace. Now, it's pretty cool that as we converse, I put a thought in your mind. When you speak back to me, it puts a thought in my mind. There's different schools on that. Whoops. There we go. You know, one way of thinking is that thought can determine your language. The other is that language determines your thought. There's different schools of thought on that. I'm not here to argue one of those, but what I do believe is that language defines our culture, right? And it defines cultures across the world. You hear about these stories of, you know, these languages that they have, you know, so many more words for love, you know, so many more words for other things. And it's never a one-for-one translation from one language to the other. For example, the Hopi Native American tribe, they didn't have any words that objectified time. So there was no idea of time as a discrete thing. It was just a process. So there was it wasn't possible to waste time. That's pretty cool. Now, there's also a common thing that's been said that says, you know, the Inuit, the Eskimos had over 100 words for ice or snow. It turns out that's actually not as true as it's kind of demonstrated to be. They have the same number of root words for snow that our language does. But the thing about their language was it was set up in a way that words could be clarified and qualified by the suffix. So it was kind of neat that their language set up the rules to say, hey, come up with an infinite amount of words for whatever you want. You can do it, right? And when the zombie attack comes, I want to know specific words for the specific types of zombies because I don't want to spend a 5-minute conversation like asking which kind of zombie is coming after me. And I think that's cool, and I think that within our language, we should feel free to innovate and come up with new words. There's actually a TED Talk just on inventing new words. It's about 6 minutes long, highly recommend it. But with new language, we innovate. You know, we're told within art, you know, to always come up with new things, be creative, but within language, we say no. You know, because of grammar, don't make up new words. And I'm challenging us to say, I think that we should, and I think we should create a new language that's specific to twin. A good example. The other day, Eric Lepresti, I don't know where you are, you can raise your hand. Back there. Oh, is he out? Well, let's make fun of him. So we were talking about this concept, and it was taking a while to like get it connect in everyone's heads, and he just came up with a word, it was like snippetizable. Maybe that's a word out there, maybe it's not. But all of a sudden, our conversation got really easy, and future conversations from there got even easier, because everyone just, even if you didn't know what the word meant, you kept hearing it from people, so you took the time to understand what that word meant, and now, you know, conversations are much, much easier. It's a good example of innovating with words. Now, with common language, we improve. Among twin teams, it fosters community and our interpersonal relationships, right? It catalyzes and accelerates our collaboration, especially at distance. You know, we're all in different places. We need that type of thing to happen. Some common language we're pulling in from the industry around us. You know, things like omni-channel e-commerce, technical debt. These are things that we've built into our vocabulary that all of a sudden use that word, everyone knows what it means. You know, earlier, you know, Kevin's talking about customer capture, right? It doesn't mean, you know, kidnapping our customers. It means, you know, that whole 15-minute presentation that he did about it. And now we know what that means. You know, we've centered on certain words that we want to follow within our culture. Things like craftsmanship, innovation, pragmatism. I think we need more. I think with individual words like that, as we saw with the pipe, things can be unclear. And when you're unclear, that's when you start to get uncomfortable. You don't know if you're going on 3 or if you're going 3 and then go. And so what I propose is that we come up with 3-word, 4-word, 5-word phrases, things that connect with you, where you really understand what that word means to you, and we share those. We make them things that you can repeat, right, especially across teams. So if we take craftsmanship, for example, what does it mean to everyone here? Does craftsmanship mean I'm going to make everything perfect all the time, no matter what? I don't think so. And I'd love for this team to start building a library around those words and creating new words, right? And by doing that, we could take these talking points and repeatable phrases, and they'll ground us. For example, to me, craftsmanship, it's a collection of a few simple phrases, all right? So understand the why. That's one phrase. You should understand the why, going back to what Steve was talking about earlier. Why are we building this? How will it be used? Right? That that's where craftsmanship starts in my mind. Craft the solution over the parts. It's another phrase, right? So if you start with the solution, the parts will probably end up being pretty well, fitting into craftsmanship. The other phrase that connects with me is be mindful of impacts. How does this impact the other parts? How does this impact the timeline? If I make this floor 100% perfect, does that mean that this family can't live in their house for the next couple months, And that leads into another phrase that I'd like to use there, which is cut corners on purpose and with a plan. Sometimes craftsmanship, you do cut corners because you're focusing on the solution rather than the parts, and that's to make that customer truly, happy with what they're getting, and sometimes happy means the time. But doing it with the plan and on purpose and consciously and being mindful about it, that's a lot different than just cutting corners, right? And those are the types of phrases that I want us to do, because with new language, we innovate. And with common language, we improve. I don't know if my phrases are right. And I can't train you to do it, right? Culture and language, it's not something we can condition you to do. It's not something we can train you to do. My control just kind of wish that we could, but we can't. What it does is it actually comes from this group. It comes from this group right here. And we need to make it a priority. I think this is something that we need to be very conscious of because it's our culture. And everyone here is a part of that and can improve it and can make it what we want it to be, which is great. I mean, that's why I'm here, because it's a culture that, we prioritize everyone here in the culture over all the other things that come into play with our business, right? And by doing that, with new language, we'll innovate, and common language will improve. I would love to see this at a company level, not just the teams. I think we're pretty good within teams right now. Individuals and teams are probably really good. I bet the Under Armour team probably has a whole vocabulary that some of us maybe have never even heard of. Some of them 4-letter words, I don't know. But I'd like to see more. I want everyone here to start coming up with 3-letter, or 3-word, 4-word, 5-word phrases. Like, try to constrain yourself to be kind of creative, getting to Kurt's thing, and look at examples that are out there in the wild, right? Like, don't take candy from strangers. That's a good one to remember. I always remembered it, right? And that's a good example of a common language phrase that makes a tough conversation easier. Right? So if David, this creepy stranger, offers me candy, I'm going to say, my mom said, don't take candy from strangers. And his feelings aren't going to be hurt, because that's a common thing within our culture that we all know it's a thing, right? Don't take candy from strangers. So he's not going to have his feelings hurt. If I was otherwise uncomfortable having that conversation, it's not really easy for me to have it, right? And I think that there's examples of that we can have, think about working with me. I speak, getting to David's point, I'll say things with a lot of conviction. And people think that I know what I'm doing, and I'm just saying it with conviction because I say everything like that, right? So I want people to always challenge me. So things like interacting with me, maybe there's a phrase like, don't be a prescriptive Pete. Like Kurt was talking about, give the space for me to be creative. I could be a little prescriptive sometimes. Or things like, stop being a dogmatic Dan, right? Like these phrases, once we all know them, then it's not a hard conversation. Or other phrases like, should I be the solution or deliver the solution? These are things that can help clarify things when someone's asking you. What are other ones? Like Alex talked about Tuckman's model, form, storm, norm. So what if we have phrases that are just, what season are we in, right? Like, let's all get on the same page, what season are we in? And because you make decisions based off of that. Or that same one about shortcuts with a plan. Like, let's standardize on that. Like, hey, you're making a shortcut without a plan, right? That's easier than just saying, hey, your code is crap, or this is ugly, right? And opening up those phrases, it makes it a lot easier. And once we become common language experts and build a foundation around that, we can start extending that externally to the clients. And that's where we start to get really interesting things happen. As an organization, the common language, it demonstrates our consistency and our shared understanding of our culture, right? And that delivers confidence to our customers. Because with a new language, we innovate, and with a common language, we improve. Imagine taking that to the client. So Ben Elmore here, our fearless CEO, he was in the room when they came up with the phrase, rich internet applications. I don't know if anyone was working in this field before that, but it was a pain in the ass to describe what that was before that phrase came around. People were like, wait, you're building a website? And you're like, it's not really a website. There's this stuff that happens. It kind of moves around, and it's kind of stateful. And they're like, well, what does stateful mean? In rich internet application, even if you don't know what it means, when someone says it, you start to hear one person say it. You start to hear two people say it. And when you hear a phrase or a word repeated by one person and then more people, it becomes important to you. And then you'll go find out what that means. And then everyone will standardize on that, which is pretty cool. Now, imagine that if we take that to the client. We've encountered many similar situations and patterns with clients, right? We've seen the same problem repeated over and over again. I think one that I've seen many. Custom in-house software. It's been built out organically over time. It's kind of a mess. It's fragmented foundation, toxic political environment within the organization, no product management. There's a hodgepodge of third-party software in there. It's a mess, right? But that's a pattern that I've seen so many times before. I'm sure you guys have as well. Imagine the confidence that we would have when we go into a client and they're like, look at all this. Like, can you help us? We say, not only can we help you, but we have a word for that. That's powerful. Remember, with a new language, we innovate, and with a common language, we improve. And I challenge everyone here to start coming up with words that connect you to Twin and connect you to the things that we do. Thank you.